51 areas, Unmute Talk Radio. Hosted by Dave Miller.
I got chills, man. I'm starstruck right now. I totally am. I'm not gonna lie. Through my younger years, and they were quite many years ago because I'm an old fucker now, but the band GWAR just pretty much made me look in a different direction of music. Not only the intensity of the music, but the stage show. Just an amazing stage show. They were the Gallaghers of metal, you know. They got the crowd involved in it. They were just an intense band. They wear it on their sleeve and in their garter belts. And this band has definitely set the trend for what people tend to still find brand new to this day. I am beyond honored to have Danielle Stampe on the show with us. Danielle, thank you so much for taking it. You're a very hard woman to get a hold of.
I know. Sorry, I'm so busy.
I know,
work
but
in the
don't.
Film industry, and my schedule is ridiculous.
No, don't be sorry. Busy's a good thing, especially in your line of work. So, yeah. Before we go diving straight into, talking about GWAR and stuff, I want to talk about. This band was so crazy, and what were you doing? How did you get involved in saying, I want to do that? I want to dress half naked. I'm going to go crazy on stage.
It sort of happened as a happy accident. I mean, Richmond, Virginia was where we were all going to college and such, and I'd been hanging out in Richmond prior to college while I was in high school because there was a lot of punk shows there, and I would go up to D.C. and see punk shows, and I was hanging around like Norfolk, Virginia and Virginia Beach. I was a Navy brat, and I had moved there from San Diego, California. And so I had some California in me too, you know?
Right.
And had seen like the birth of skateboarding and, been around California and San Diego, the beach life and stuff like that. And then moved to Virginia and brought my punkness with me. And, it was... I just was like hanging around Richmond, and you bump into people. It's a small town, and GWAR was one of the things. GWAR in the Slave Pit, and it was just sort of getting born when I was there in like 1987, 88.
Right. So you were 17, 18, 19 years old in that area.
Yeah, I was young when I joined the band, and basically I had just like met a bunch of different people, and there was just lots of different stuff happening. The Alternatives, also SST band, they were kind of like this punk jazz kind of math fusion band, you know.
Right.
And I was bouncing around off the walls at their shows and other shows like the Butthole Surfers, and different bands would come through town and stuff. And of course, I met Dave Brocky, who's a charismatic figure in Richmond, and that brought me into the Slave Pit. And then, over the course of a year, I started working at the Slave Pit just as an artist with Don Draculich and stuff like that.
Right.
And went from there. There was a girl at the time, Lisa Harrelson, who had been the current GWAR woman. Before I was around, there were like there was three, I think. I think I was the fourth. There were three women that tried to be GWAR women. There was Heather Broom, who was the first, and then there was Colette Miller, and she was around for a minute, and then Lisa Harrelson. She was actually around the longest, and she was a pretty good dancer, and she was kind of just like girl eye candy, like bouncing around on the stage. She was awesome, you know. She had her own little energy. But recently I was at a talk that Hunter Jackson was giving, and he was sort of like showing how he had created a lot of the original characters of GWAR and part of the original concept, before it was thrown on a band, Dave Brocky's band, Death Picky. And also the Alternatives actually wore the costumes at one point. a lot of people in Richmond were involved in GWAR at one point or another. There's like thousands of people involved, you know?
Right.
And all those movies we made, like Alice in Wonderland, Skullhead Face.
Right.
I was a waitress at the Village, and I would just be like, hey, you should be in our movie. You know, we were recruiting everyone in that entire town to make our vision possible, you know? That's what was made GWAR such a fun project. And I guess I was originally swept up in that fervor around that project, you know?
Right.
And I never really thought, I want to be in a band, I want to be famous, you know?
Right.
La, 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 la.
Right.
I was more like just a creative person who was being creative around other creative people, you know? And I was in art school. I was studying painting and printmaking, and I did a couple craft classes. I was interested in metal smithing and stuff like that. I took some sculpture classes, a lot of art history,
and that all played into the fact.
That was a lot of fun because a lot of that later, and I did take a few women's studies classes because I had a little feminist streak in me, and a little one.
Right.
So I was real interested in like the mother goddess and like just seeing like the goddess religions and like pre-Christianity, studying stuff like that. And I did have a little trickle of that in the GWAR woman character, you know, once I got it. But I was saying about Hunter's thing. Hunter was showing all the different things that he had started working on and how we all were involved as artists and stuff like that. And I was really happy about something he said. And he said I was the first one to breathe a life into the character, you know?
Oh, there's no doubt.
And,
there's no doubt.
Yeah, and so that was fun. And I feel like Slymenstra's legacy has lived on, and it's been pretty interesting to see how she affected GWAR and stuff like that. And I do look forward to there being another female character at some point in GWAR, you know?
Right. Now,
and I've been on the search for, you know, since the Kim Delia thing. I have been on the search for a new one, and I think I've found her. I just have to convince GWAR that she's the right gal, you know?
So
but they're a little gun-shy after the last situation.
Right. Now, that one went public, and that's one of the things, as long as GWAR's been around, the members that have come in and, you know, the changes, there's not been a lot of negativity in the press. You know, it's been pretty much the family itself seemed to handle its problems. But then a woman scorned.
Yeah, we tried to keep it more internal, you know?
Right.
And more classy.
But then
I hate to say classy around GWAR, but...
Well, you know, we all understand that. We love the show. But, you know, there's a difference between being a fan and a fanatic. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, exactly.
To all the fans out there, we all understand and appreciate each individual's life and choices that they make and they do. But obviously with social media these days, the last thing kind of blew up. And, you know, she came out on public media or social media and just kind of tried to rip. You know, and it was a really sad thing to watch because, you know, you're like, God damn, never before, and now all of a sudden you got this pissed off person.
Yeah, it hurt me personally, but you know, I'm over all that now, and the proof is in the pudding. So
right, you know, to be honest,
people can try to, you know, during that period, it felt like people were trying to demean my character and say that I was a part-time character and a backup singer and a backup thing. Or something. It was like, or a girlfriend, you know. It was like, number one, having been some people's girlfriends in the band, it doesn't make your life easier. It actually makes it harder.
Right. Thank you.
And I lived through that, and I lived to tell the tale. So I'm pretty proud of that.
Well, as a musician myself, I played in Vegas for many years, and I would get, you know, hey, you want to come and jam with us and da 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 da. And, you know, I was always open to jam with women in the band or whatever. But the second I found out that there was a relationship between maybe the drummer and the singer, I was like, I think I'm going to pass. Because I've been to band rehearsals and I've seen couples that are not getting along and it just kind of goes through the whole room. And no matter what you try to do to lighten the situation, there's that fucking elephant in the room. You know, so I can understand that, but as far as Dave goes, and you said the word earlier, the vision. He became basically an icon for every talk show host that just. I think that and you were right there with him. From so it became kind of a limelight for the both of you to share. And Dave always seemed, in every interview I ever watched or talk show I seen you guys on, he wasn't the kind of glutton no, this is my band and I'm famous, and it was shared equally. And that's one of the things that I love so much about the band, is there was so much going on that you guys all had your time to shine.
Yeah, we all had to. It wasn't just one person. It took an army of people to accomplish those goals,
Right. And
both him and Hunter Jackson both knew that, and that's why we had the Slave Pit, and a lot of really wonderful things came out of the Slave Pit, a lot of great side projects like the Ex-Cops and, Girly Freak Show even kind of came out of the Slave Pit,
Right.
They're very supportive of my projects, it was a fun journey. It was a crazy lifestyle living on first the school bus, and then, later on when we got a little more successful, of course, we had tour buses and things. And of course we needed them in order to make it happen, because on a GWAR tour, you just had to work relentlessly, like day after day after day, and then finally you would get a day off and you'd have to do your laundry and sleep. And it
and
wasn't
shower.
all fun and games and glamour,
Right.
It was stinky. It was disgusting. It was soupy.
Right. I mean, and all that came through the blood, sweat, and tears. I mean, that vision that you guys had of saying, we've got to keep going, we're going to do this. And it's so crazy. Like, the fan base of GWAR goes so deep. It's not just kids and T-shirts. There's 50-year-old dudes out there that fucking detectives and judges and attorneys that are all, dude, I saw GWAR in fucking 80 and 89, and it was the best experience of my life. I mean, you guys have touched so many different people.
Yeah, it's kind of become a thing where it's sort of like a college ritual, like, when you're in college and when you're in art school or you're in college, like everybody goes and everybody gets. It's kind of like a Bachian ritual. I always said, when you're getting splattered with all that blood and the poo bags and the vomit and the, and the urine and then odorous comes in your face. It's like, it's like a Bachian ritual. It's kind of like takes humanity back to some kind of like, I don't know, primal kind of right.
Right. And what's crazy is how GWAR was able to bring politics into to the stage show, and they've never been attacked for it. Never. You could bring Trump on stage and rip him apart, or Sarah Palin and all that stuff, and nobody.
Or the Pope,
the
minute what's her name rips a picture, Sinead O'Connor rips up a picture of the Pope, and she gets all in trouble, and it's like, we've been cutting his head off for years.
Right. And I mean, I honestly think that ended her career. I really do. And I've seen her, and she's in a lot of trouble with herself. She's in a lot of personal battles. I don't know exactly, but she comes out and she releases some crazy videos, man, and people or her family's looking for her and going all over the place. And at the time that she
terrible.
Right, and at the time that she did that, she was at the highlight of her career, and she offended some people, and boom, it's over with. But when you guys do it or did it, it was the same way. It was like, hey, we're doing this, it's fun, fuck it. If you don't like it, simply don't watch. But when
I love Dave's response on the Jerry Springer show. It's not our job as artists to raise your children. And then he had said something, I forget exactly what it was, but it was really strong. And it was something about, people in war and how we just repeat the pattern over and over again. And, don't learn from history and this and that.
Right.
He had a way of putting things very eloquently.
I remember the episode.
And he would just throw it off your hip. It's like, very hard to compete.
Right. I mean, and, the kid's sitting there with his mother, and he loves GWAR, and she's like, you guys are the worst thing in the world. And then out of Dave in in his full getup, he's like, you know what, lady, and he just hit her with that. And
in the end, they didn't show it on the television show, but in the end, that lady was hugging us backstage and stuff and saying, next time I'm going to look into more of what my son's into because you guys are smarter than I thought.
Absolutely. Abso-fucking-lutely. That's where I'm coming with.
Cool,
people get judged by their appearance all the time, and then you sit down and each one of you are such smart individuals. You are college students. You are educated. And then when people go, wait a minute, they're making sense, But why we're on the Jerry Springer thing? Why we're on the Jerry Springer thing? When you went back on to confront that fan,
I didn't go on to confront a fan. Well, I was told that it was a Women in Rock episode, and they were going to have all these chicks on there. And so I come, and then I walk out on stage, and I'm like, what's going on here? And I had actually just had knee surgery, and I didn't really want to wear those boots. And I told them, like, I'm taking my brace off, make sure no one attacks me. And then that girl attacked me, and she was a paid actress. So there were problems with that show.
Really? Because how they persuade and put it out there is that you were just on to do the confronting fans, or the fans wanted to confront you. But that fucking kick, that flying kick, that I was like, she's really mad.
I was furious because I was like coming back from an injury, and I was really felt very protective of myself. Like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? I'm getting attacked, for real. This is crazy.
Right.
A lot of times people thought that, yeah, I'm tough and all that stuff, but I was playing a role. I am not Simon Strauss.
Right. I mean, here comes the human, right? Here comes the human side of it,
I actually have a very soft side, and I'm, kind of a hippie chick. I like to, drive around in the desert or go to the beach all the time,
Right.
I'm actually very chill. I'm not, flying off the handle and biting people's heads off and making little pieces. I used to have some funny jokes, I would, chop guys' dicks off and then, sew them into little bags, and then you could rub it and it would turn into a suitcase or something like that. I had all these little goofy anecdotes and stuff.
No, I mean, and you develop that type of sense of humor when you're younger, but after going through all the shit that you go through on the road and dealing with people and management and venues and stuff, that kind of stuff probably carried you guys through a lot of rough spots, right?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, there's always going to be all those ups and downs on the road, the bus breaking down, the costumes being stuck in. We had to be helicoptered to a show, and we didn't have any costumes. So Dave and I went out with whipped cream on and stuff like that.
I mean, that's...
Both naked with a G-string and a pair of, ripped up pantyhose or something.
So when you started wearing the costume, was it a little bit more covering, and
actually the first costume I ever made was for Lisa, and I had made her this little one-piece thing that had kind of, at the time in the 80s, remember the Brazilian bathing suit was super hot and super high cut,
right,
kind of Catwomanish or Vampirilla looking-ish bathing suit I had made her. And I was dabbling in fashion design in college and stuff, so I was trying to do pattern making and stuff, and tried to fit her body and did an okay job, and made her a little pair of fiber. I had used football pads and made her a little fiberglass spiky outfit. And then
Nice.
GWAR was doing a show in New York at the Ritz Theater or in New Jersey. I can't exactly remember which one was first. It all happened in a week. But basically, Lisa and the drummer, Rob Mosby, he was one of our original drummers before Brad. And I would consider Brad an original member because he's been around as long as I have, since 1988.
Nice.
Him and Dirks and I were all kind of coming in the band right at the same time. And so he's been around so long. It's to me, he is an original member because the original band is who stuck around, you know what I mean?
Right.
And did the work, not the original first-time players.
Played in the soup.
Yeah, exactly. So, anyhow, where was I? shoot, I'm getting sidetracked.
It's all good. We were talking about the drummers coming in. You were naming off the drummers.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So Lisa was like, I'm, breaking up. I'm leaving the band, whatever. And they had a show. So I was there, working on costumes and stuff. And at the time I was dating Don Draculich. And he was like pushing for me to be in the band. And I hadn't even really, I know I had been hanging around GWAR and stuff like that, but I wasn't really focused on becoming GWAR woman. I know a lot of people think that I was, but then I was like, yeah, sure, I'll go out on a couple shows. Sort of took it like that. Like I wasn't thinking that I was getting like this lifetime of experience coming up.
Right.
I was in college. I was thinking I was going to finish college and things. So I ended up out on the road with GWAR on their first I did a first couple shows. I did like Schaefer Court, might have been my tryout show, or I can't remember. I might have done an away show first and then Schaefer Court, and then I think like my second or third show was opening up for the Butthole Surfers, one of my favorite bands, and I was just like awestruck by Gibby and Catherine, that naked dancer they had.
Right.
I was just awestruck by her. And I had already gone to a show in Richmond, and it was right around Halloween season, so everybody was dressing up and stuff, and it was a butthole show. So I had dressed up as a bold snake lady, and that's where that snake lady thing in GWAR comes from.
Right.
It was sort of like I was already fascinated by stuff like that, and I was wearing a lot of costumes, and I was kind of a goofy dresser. I always wore, like, stupid makeup and crazy clothes and, like, artsy little hats with little like bunny ears and stuff in college. I was just goofing around with stuff like that, and so it was really fun to play with a lot of that stuff in GWAR. Like one of my favorites was putting lashes on Bobby Gorman when he played Flopsy, the cunt-faced boy.
Okay.
I loved that one. That was like my favorite. I did his makeup all like garish with like blue eyeshadow, like 60s eye makeup and stuff. And then there were some fun moments of like costuming moments that were non-GWAR, but with Dave and stuff. There was this woman in our town named Dirt Woman, and he was a cross-dressing big guy, kind of like a divine wannabe kind of, but he had his own thing too. Like I hate to call anyone a wannabe, but he was awesome. Dirt Woman was a character, a bright character in GWAR's, in Richmond's history of weird characters,
Right.
But him and Dave did this mud wrestling thing, and I got to dress Dave up in this little, I think it was pink or gold G-string, little G-string man hammock thing, and then he had eyelashes on, and he had like a big cape or something, and then like I made this bikini for Dirt Woman, and his measurements were insane. Like his leg measurement was like 80 inches around or something like that. It was like, I would get the measurements home, and I'm like, did I do this right? And then I made the bikini, and I was holding it up in front of me like, is this really going to fit? I think I made it too big, and then it fit. That was a costuming challenge.
So,
and one of my favorite costumes, like sewing-wise, that I did in GWAR was the Sleazy P Martini suit. That was a fun one.
Goodness.
The wipe and wear fashions that I made him that were like that metal flake wiping vinyl like you have inside a boat.
Let me ask you, where does the inspiration come from to when you make these kind of things? One of the things that I've constantly looked for, with bands like that are out today, there's bands called Slipknot and Mushroom Head, and they all do the masks and kind of carry on, right? I mean, it's kind of it's another extension of what they've seen in the past, but why can't you buy a GWAR mask anywhere? Nobody's mass produced them. Nobody's got.
I think that there are a couple. I thought there was an odorous mask that got distributed for a minute. That was like a Halloweenish mask type thing.
I've looked.
I'm not sure.
I've looked because I just want it for my studio. I just want it to sit in the studio.
Yeah,
I
know that from time to time, different artists in GWAR will put things up on like eBay or different places, and do auctions for maybe a Sexecutioner mask. I've seen those up there before. Chuck Varga, one of the older GWAR artists.
Right.
And the Sexecutioner was such a classic character. Le Sexecutioner! Him and I were like Odorous' sidekicks. It was like, we were kind of like the dynamic three in a way.
Right.
In the band. We would do a lot of the stage antics, and keep the stage moving, That's one thing I wish I could see more of in the modern day GWAR stage, is a little more movement. But, hopefully if we can add another female character to the band, we can get a little more movement in there, some dance and some movement and some of the... I liked having the duality of the characters, having the male and female struggle, and then, that energy, it sort of lacks it today.
One of the things that has seemed that I've noticed over the career is I think maybe that has to do with this. Their music has become more technical. I mean, they're really, those guitar parts that they're playing now are seriously.
Oh, they've always been great musicians, like always. Like even like some of our goofier albums that the musicians didn't like had some really technical stuff on it, like the song "Surf of Sin." It was like, Dirk's doing surf guitar, and like they are great players.
Right.
Like I don't care what the press has always said about them through the years, and like yes, they have gotten way more technical in the later days of GWAR, like the newer version of GWAR, and I like it, and I really like the new record. I have to say I'm super proud of them, and I'm excited about it.
Right.
It's exciting to hear the new music and stuff.
One of the things that that you guys have, you've always brought in covers over the years. You'll cover a song and do something, make it GWAR-ish. It doesn't matter what it is. And I'll say it straight up, on YouTube, one of the most amazing covers of any song is "Carry On Wayward Son," and it blows my fucking mind when I watch that video. It's so funny and so cool to see GWAR take such a classic rock, tune and just make it their own, because the song is, the song's cool. It's one of those ones that's been around forever, but the way that they did it and twisted it and put it out and put their stamp on that song, no pun intended, but they put their stamp on that song, and it made it their own, and it's just a phenomenal watch. Whether you watch the edited version or whatever, the video is fucking fantastic, and Dave is just, he's so funny in the video. It's just one of those things that you cannot watch that and not go, this is cool. If you can do that, you fucking suck, because that is serious entertainment. I mean, that's the word entertainment, and this band go so close hand in hand. Danielle, we've been going for 30 minutes. I'd like to take a few minute break, roll some commercials, let you chill out, get a drink. I'm going to go get a drink, and we'll be back, and we'll start talking about, I want to talk about Miss Electra and David Carradine. Okay. Miss, how the fuck?
Yeah. I love him. Okay, cool.
All right, give me 3 minutes, and we'll be right back, sweetie. Thank you.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still water. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff,
The Executioner's Box is now available in Google Play. It features some of the worst people to ever walk the face of the earth. From the BTK killer to Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, John Wayne Gacy, Charles Manson, just to name a handful of the individuals that are in this application. It is definitely the darkest, most intense ITC application available. It is available in Google Play for download now. And we always stress with this application to please use it with extreme caution. I've wasted a lot of money in this business. I really have. I've got a whole case of things that I don't ever use. I mean, they're paperweights. I got them. They got cool looking lights, but they never do anything for me on location. And that's exactly where I come in right here with my favorite company, Paranologies. At Paranologies.com, you can get anything that you're looking for, man. They've got sensors, cameras, audio, lighting, accessories, and even DVRs, man. Their sensors are second to none, period. the 360 periscope, the regular periscope, the electroscope, the pyramid, the geopod, the temperscope, the periscope plasma, the tribometer, the thermoscope. Holy shit, there's a lot of scopes going on out here. Plus the holy grail of them all, the Poltercom and the Poltercom progeny. Don't waste another dime on unnecessary gear. Get a hold of Jeremy Jones at Paranologies.com and get what you deserve in your arsenal. Get results. Paranologies.com. Hey guys, what's going on? This is Dave with 51 Areas Paranormal Talk Radio. If you happen to be in the market for your very own SLS camera, I have found the hidden treasure in the field. Landon and Jerry of the Paranormal Response Team are doing something incredible for all investigators, single or with your team. To your door, you can get your very own SLS camera shipped to your house for $299. And it's incredible because not only do they send you the camera, they send you a couple of videos, show you how to use it, and if you have any questions, you just contact them, and their customer service is through the roof. They will help you out. I'm talking through experience here dealing with these guys. They are 100% class, and they're doing something great because the technology that you're paying for is just outrageous on some of these sites. But to your door, $299 shipped, and you're on your way. Then you can be just like Zach. Just like Zach. Tell him I sent you, man. Paranormal Response Team on Facebook. Yes, we are back. We are talking with the amazing, cool, badass shock rocker chick of fucking all time. There's no doubt about that. If you know somebody else that's more extreme, let me know, because guess what? I'll wait. That's what I thought. Ain't nobody more extreme. She's just one of those badasses. Danielle, thank you again for coming back. It's like I say, nothing scripted here, but I want to talk.
I don't know how extreme I am, but I'm a good showman. That's what it is.
Absolutely. We talked a little bit about the talk show scene and how, basically, like I told you before we went live, your face and Dave's face were pretty much, and I don't mean any disrespect to anybody, but you guys became the face of GWAR, both of you. When you decided to do other things, I mean, how hard of a decision was that to say, I think I'm going to take a break?
It was very hard, and it sort of happened simultaneously. Like it's the end of the late 90s, GWAR was having to regroup, and we had a bad tour in Europe, and we were really broke, and we didn't know what we were going to do about which label we were going to be with, and there was this real big interim period. And I had already moved to Los Angeles prior to this, and I was working alongside with a manager, Dave Lumian, GWAR's manager at the time, and we were trying to get together a movie deal here in Los Angeles to do a GWAR movie. And we actually did find one, and we were working with a writer and stuff, and we just couldn't push it through with Dave. And it really bummed me out, and I sort of felt a little bit at that point. I mean, I've been doing GWAR for like 15 years or so at that point,
Right.
And I only get to do like one song a record and this and that, and I was doing my lightning stunt at this point also. I'd been developing that, and I've been developing Girly Freak Show. Well, actually, these other girls started Girly Freak Show out of Coney Island, Ula and Sharka, the Pain-Proof Rubber Girls, and they sort of passed the show on to me later on. We had done a lot of performances together and this and that, and then I'd started the Lightning thing, and I wanted to tour the Lightning show and have the Girly Freak Show kind of premiere that stunt. And so anyway, all these different things were happening, and I was out here in LA, and the Miss Electra thing was happening. And so that just sort of started taking off, and then all of a sudden I found out GWAR was on tour, and I was like, what's going on?
Oh.
And it was sort of like a mutual thing. Like, I think Dave and the band wanted to sort of size down a little because the money was tight,
Right.
And maybe not be quite as much goofy with all the characters and all that stuff. They wanted to get more metally and more serious and all that,
Right.
And maybe it was time for GWAR to do that, I wasn't there. I'm not trying to point any fingers.
No, absolutely.
It could have been another way or anything like that. it's like I feel like the time I was in GWAR, we had a great time and everything, and they continued it, and I never had harsh feelings about that. I wanted them to, you know.
Right.
And with me, it was just like I kept getting all these great job offers, performing and stuff. So I was just doing that, you know, and doing the Miss Electra thing, and that took off. And my favorite show I got to do with Miss Electra was the Brothers Grimm Sideshow, and they toured Ozfest. I actually wasn't on that tour, but I helped facilitate getting that tour. At that time, I was doing another film project, so I couldn't, but they, you know, at one time we had that show all over the country. We were at like a pier in New Jersey, the Seaside, it was in Seaside Heights for the summer, and we did like a grind show. We had like a 100-foot banner line, just like it would have been in the turn of the century old sideshow. And we had the owner of the show, Ken Hart, used to be in Badfinger, and he's played with bands like Styx, and he had some other bands off Broadway. He's out of Chicago.
Right.
He was fascinated with circus, and he was a great man, and he still is actually. He bought P.T. Barnum's estate, and
wow,
has all of this wonderful circus poster collection and everything, and some of that stuff was shown inside the show, and the staging was done the way it would have been in the old days. It was just a really fun show, and there was like 10 performers under one tent at some of our shows, and I got to work with a lot of really interesting people at that time, like the Torture King and William Dark and Cats and an Enigma and the Lizard Man. A lot of big names in Sideshow were in that show. Right,
and
that
all
was
these,
a lot of fun.
And all these individuals still influence you to this day to do your art. You know, that's one of the things that if people, you know, look into the band and look into each individual, you're all super smart, intellectual people that have a passion to do things other than, you know, chop off the president's head or, you know, or get Sarah Palin or whoever the victim is on the stage that night. But I mean, where does the inspiration come from in you to just go, I'm
not really sure. I sort of have, a lot of my friends have always said I had a bee up my ass because I was just kind of like always had to be doing something. And I have a lot of energy, and I think that's why my natural progression was, you know, after, you know, years of being a showgirl after GWAR and performing for many years after that, and then I just wanted to kind of put a cap on that. You know, I'm turning 50 this year, and I felt like the film industry was the best place for me because I started working in the film industry in the 90s in New York, you know, working on the production side, doing like painting and stuff like that in the film industry.
Right.
And so now I'm in the 729, I'm in the film union and in IETSE, and I can work on film, television, commercials. And for the last 10 years prior to me getting in the union, I got in 2 years ago, I was working in the non-union world. So I mainly worked on commercials and then lots of fun projects like I've worked for Katy Perry. You know, I helped make the meat dress for Gaga. I was working on tons of her piano.
I didn't know that.
Of her piano,
I did not know that.
Props. Yeah, I was a fabricator. I can't say I was a designer because I'm not. You know, it takes teams of people to do those type of projects. You know,
right?
I was a fabricator in it. You know,
and you said you said local 729. I'll just have you know, sister, local 720 Las Vegas, right here, baby. Audiovisual engineer. I don't live in Vegas anymore, but my name's still in the registry. So yes, if I go back, I will be right back to it. But you know, but honestly, I mean, the entertainment industry, I mean, it's a perfect place for you. I mean, you're so creative and you do these things.
You know, lots of 12-hour days, and I'm a good problem solver, and I'm resourceful, and I can always solve all these paint issues. I've been painting for years and years. And, you know, while I was in GWAR, there were lots of times when we had to make money on the side. And I was always painting, you know, in Richmond. There was a lot of historic renovation going on. And I used to work for this wonderful woman, Elaine Tucker. And she did these beautiful buildings like the Jefferson Sheraton Hotel. And I got to work alongside of her, you know, for about 9 years or so. Right. So I learned a lot from her. And, you know, I have to say I'm a pretty damn good wood grainer here in LA when I see what other people
I
are
bet you
doing,
are.
so.
You think I'd argue? You think I'm going to argue with Slimenstra with a power tool in her hand? Fuck that!
I know, right?
I have no
and
arguments.
My bullwhips. You know, during my circus years, I picked up the bullwhip, and I actually learned how to snap bullwhips properly, and I can do like double.
She said a power tool,
bullwhip.
a power tool,
Yeah,
and a bullwhip.
Don't make me get my bullwhips out.
All right, now, and you know what? Unfortunately, I hate to bring it up, but with the ups come the downs, and the personal demons of things, losses of great artists out there who have struggled, such as with Dave.
Yeah, there's been far too many opioid losses lately in our community, and I don't know what I can do, but I want to do something to ask the youth to just say no and don't do it.
Right.
Drugs aren't good for you, and they're
Right.
not going to, you know, if you're on heroin and you're out there and you need help, seek help. There's people there that are going to help you. Just make that decision and do it. And you know, if you haven't done opioids yet and you're out there listening, please don't ever do them, because I lost my best friend, Dave Rocky, to that shit.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And I don't want to see it happen to anyone else.
Right.
I
Absolutely.
still can't talk about it after 2 years. Look at me.
I know, man. I know. It is tough. I mean,
I'm sorry I'm getting emotional, but I just...
No, it's okay.
I can't believe we lost one of America's greatest artists.
Right. I mean, that's the thing that, you know, I look at all these videos and I listen to Dave talk and I see him as this person that had this great vision and he lived it.
He was not only a rock guy, he was a great singer and a great frontman and a great performer. But
Absolutely.
He was also a writer, and he was also a great painter. He could draw. He had vision. He had political interests that tapped really deep, and you know, I feel he did something with that. You know,
he was such an influential individual that, you know, like I go to a video with Dave Grohl, and Dave Grohl is on stage in front of thousands and thousands of people, and he breaks off into this story where he starts laughing, and just out of love and respect for Dave, and he says this quote that Dave Grohl said that Dave Brocky had said that he had teeth removed so he could suck more dick, and Dave Grohl is on stage. Dave Grohl is on stage and he is rolling, telling this story. You know, he starts talking, GWAR, you know, and the crowd's going crazy. And he goes, I got the funniest fucking story about, you know, somebody asked him what they thought.
They didn't grow up far from each other because they were both in the Northern Virginia, you know?
Right.
And Dave Grohl has been, you know, around in the scene since I can remember. You know, I remember seeing Government Issue and all that, you know, back in the day.
Right. So it was so funny. It was so funny to see.
I'm glad he gets Dave's sense of humor.
Absolutely, you know, because he is a hardcore fan, you know. So, you know, but that was Dave, you know. So, going through the battles that he has,
he said some wonderful things about me too.
You know, honestly, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yeah, you had to take with Dave. You had to take the good with the bad. You know,
right.
Unfortunately, we loved the good part, and we had to take the bad too.
Absolutely. I mean, I think, you know what, with artists, it doesn't matter if you're in metal, if you're Michael Jackson or whatever. Artists seem to be almost within a war within themselves.
I'm sure I wasn't a small cup of water either, you know?
I can imagine. I can only imagine. That would be, you know, that's pay-per-view material right there to watch Dave and Danielle have an argument. That's pay-per-view.
He used to say I could out-argue any politician.
I'm believing that.
I'm not even going to argue with you. You can out-argue any politician.
So... With what made you decide that you wanted to electrocute yourself? What the fuck? I mean,
because you know, I had been doing the girly freak show thing, and I had been, you know, researching. I'm a big research person. Like when I was doing Slimenstra Hyman, for instance, and coming up with her character, I was doing tons and tons of goddess research and and stuff like that. And I tried to like take popular feminist icon imagery and tie it into her, like it had been her all along, you know, throughout humanity,
right?
Human history, you know, like Medusa, the Venus of de Milo coming in on a clamshell, you know, like any kind of images like that. Helena the Hunt, or you know, Slimenstra as a mermaid, or Slimenstra as a half woman, half snake. A lot of that stuff was sort of like man's fear of women comes out in art like that a lot of times, like so this half woman, half demon characters and stuff like that. So I like to play up on a lot of that. So I was doing a lot of research for that for Slimenstra. Then I started getting into, and for Slimenstra also, studying show business and studying like, where are some stunts I could do on stage, you know, because first I was doing the fire breathing or the fire twirling, and then I was doing the fire breathing, and then I learned how to eat fire. And then I was looking into, like, what else can I do that's bigger and better and faster, you know? And, you know, I had tried to snap bullwhips and stuff, but I didn't actually master that for quite a while, so I never did it on the GWAR stage, except when I came back in 2002 for the Bitches Back tour. I think I did a little bullwhipping stuff. But anyway, what was I talking about?
You're talking about how you're doing research into Slimenstra.
Oh yeah, so doing research, and I had actually built a really small Tesla coil with my father in like the 4th or 5th or 6th grade, somewhere around there. We made this really small Tesla coil that
amazing,
like little sparks come out.
That's awesome.
And so I had known a little bit about Tesla, and I, you know, a lot of people in GWAR read a lot, and you're on the bus a lot, you read a lot, and you stop in different college towns and look at good bookstores, buying books. This is back when people read books, people.
Right. I'm laughing so hard right now. I was like, there's no fucking laptops. There's no tablets on the bus, people.
I'm like, this is back when I had to go to the library and use the Dewey Decimal System.
That's fucking awesome. It's awesome.
So,
God,
you know,
we're
we
old.
didn't have laptops when I was touring. Not that much. I think one person might have had one to run the business, you know.
Did you have an Atari on the bus? Did you at least have an Atari on the bus?
We had video games and stuff like that.
Right,
yeah.
There you go.
And GWAR played a lot of board games. You know, Hunter Jackson and Matt McGuire and Bobby all loved to play little role-playing. And Dave was one of the best dungeon masters ever, so they would play
Dungeons and Dragons.
lots of different games. They would play lots of different games through the years, you know. And so that was really fun. And hey, that brings up the lightning. Oh, so
yes.
I was in Los Angeles, and I was already playing with smaller Tesla coils and with the Torture King, and he had this small coil where you could hold like a metal rod in your hand and put it into the spark, and then you could light a light bulb, hold a light bulb in your mouth or in your hand, and it would light up, and you could hold neon, and you can make, what's happening is you actually have little sparks coming out all over your body. So if you have a torch drenched in gasoline and you put it on you, a little spark is going to ignite it. But of course you do it from your mouth for showbiz purposes, you know,
right,
to make it look even better.
Uncle Fester.
So you light torches off of your mouth, you light bulbs in your mouth, whatever, stuff like that. So we were using that on a small girly freak show tours that we were doing. And I had met these guys, this one guy, Tony Magno, and he introduced me to Brent Turner, and they were working out of KVA Effect, and they were building Tesla coils. And this was around my Burning Man years, too, because, like, towards the end of GWAR, I was starting to go out to Burning Man in the summers and stuff and work on projects like help a bunch of girls weld this huge dragon and just different projects like that. And I worked on this big white whale and some other things. But that was a couple different summers in a row. And I had worked with this guy, Austin. He was Mr. Megavolt, and we helped build his coils at KVA, and then he was doing stunts out at Burning Man, and I wanted to do my stunt out at Burning Man, you know. So we were working on it, and then Brent Turner, who's the master behind the stunt that I do, handed his stunt down to me, you know, and then I started doing it. And I got to perform with Cirque du Soleil and Barnum and Bailey.
Oh, that's awesome.
And Brothers
show.
Grimm Sideshow, Hannaford Circus, Family Circus, some shrine circuses, and then a lot of television shows worldwide. Miss Electra got to do a tour in Japan and the Orient. She went to Shanghai, China, and Thailand, Bangkok.
And you got to be on a TV show with David Carradine.
And every city, in every city I would do a lot of television. And I also went to Brazil and did the show Fausto. He has this show that lasts like 8 hours a night on TV. So I had a really long spot on his show where they had like 24 dancers behind me and all these helium balloons that I was hitting with the lightning, and then they would explode and stuff like that. It was really great.
Oh,
And
man.
I've done a lot of different shows in America. Like my favorite was the one with David Carradine, Wild West Tech.
Right.
And of course, Ripley's Believe It or Not was an incredible moment because that was my first television appearance with Miss Electra.
And it
that
was a great
back
show
in like
as well.
99 or 98 or so. And then that show spawned a job for me. I got to tour around to all the different Ripley's Believe It or Not around the country, like in, up at Branson, Missouri, and Niagara Falls. So I got to do like all the Americana tourist destinations.
No,
and I got
awesome.
to go there and perform my set, and that was a lot of fun. And I got to do some of them with the Torture King. And the Torture King would lick hot metal or stick pins through his body and stuff like that. The more of the Torture King. Him and I used to be kind of a show business duo as well after GWAR.
So
that was a lot of fun too.
With picking up the success that you got with Miss Electra, was it a different type of feeling when you were going out being successful, being yourself as well, carrying over? Because I the mainstream media, I'm sure, didn't know who Slimestra was. They're probably just like, this girl. You gotta see her.
The crossover didn't really work. Like telling people that I was in GWAR, really at first, like with Ripley's Believe It or Not, we didn't want to tell them because it was maybe something that would scare them off. In a way.
Right. Of course, because mainstream media doesn't want real shit. You know what I mean? They're like, her past.
But then later, here's a shocker. I was doing I had already been in National Geographic magazine with Brothers Grimm's Sideshow, and they had taken an interest in having me on their program, on a program of theirs. So I ended up doing a program called More Than Human on National Geographic, and they wanted to cover GWAR.
See, and that's because the producer,
you never know.
Because the producer was in college going, this is Slimestra. Gotta get her on, dude.
They had a beautiful pictorial spread, like all these cool photo shoots I'd done in my life, and I was like, where'd they track all that down? It was like really neat. And then they had like a little bits of GWAR here and there, and talked about how I'd been in GWAR, and it was neat.
No, it's awesome. I mean, everything that you've done it should be respected if they're having you on. We talk about your personal career and your career with GWAR, and obviously, nothing that you do is ever going to take you away from the things that you've accomplished with GWAR. Recently, unfortunately, there was a really bad story come out about Michael Dirks, the guitar player.
That's very sad.
He's going through a battle of a major battle of his life. And when you see things like that come out, I mean, it's just got to be surreal to you to just go, wow, you get drawn back in, and these people on levels that they're probably their own family doesn't know them on. So, I mean, how does that affect you when you see things like this coming out into the press?
Well, you definitely cry a lot, I've been thinking about Dirk for days, and it's really sad, and I guess we all just have to hope for the best. And he's asked everyone to make on Loudwire, I believe he has told people where to go to try to make a donation or something like that for other people that might have this disease that need bone marrow.
Right.
I'm not sure if it's a blood transfusion or what it is exactly. I don't know enough about it quite yet.
Right. From what I've read,
I know he's in good spirits and that he's feeling good right now, and that's what I was told yesterday. So
yes, from what I read, and it was off of Loudwire, he needs a bone marrow transplant, and he's going to go through some intensive chemo. He's got a very rare bone disease that he has to get a bone marrow transplant, and then they're saying that it was about a 15% mortality rate. So they've dropped it real low. So it does look good for him to make a recovery, but it's going to, after he does the chemo and the procedure, it's going to take him probably about a year to get back to normal. So there is a very, very, very good chance that he's going to recover and go through this. But you know, and my hat's off and nothing but love to the dude. I mean, I've lost.
I know.
I've lost many
GWAR
members.
has had a lot of trials and tribulations in the last, years, and they've only grown stronger from it. So
right. And
all we can do is support them.
And no matter what you seem to do, assholes like me are always trying to track you down to find out what to bring you back in.
I don't get tracked down. I don't get tracked down that often.
Man,
that's okay.
Well, I mean, let me tell you guys all right now. It's just be patient with her. She'll get back to you.
Yeah, I've been on several movies this year. I worked on a Will Smith movie called Bright. That was really fun, and done a couple television shows. Like I just finished Ninja versus Ninja the other day. It's an offshoot of American Ninja Warrior.
Awesome.
So that was fun. I was leading that show, and I ran the RuPaul show.
Oh no, the wife is gonna love you now even more than she already does.
We called that show 50 Shades of Pink.
No, you know what? I'm not going to lie. I've actually watched it. It's one of the things that the wife binge watches.
It is a fun show. I honestly really enjoyed working on it. I loved watching the drag queens every day. I couldn't wait to see what they were watching, who's going to bitch who out. It was fucking great.
It's like, it's just intense for me to sit there and watch, and I look over at the wife and I go, oh, yeah, okay. But, to each their own.
They even did my nails for me. They're like, oh, girl. Oh, look at those nubs. Look at those little artist nubs.
That is amazing.
They put some little fake cute fingernails on me. It was pretty funny.
No, you're a fascinating individual that has great stories, and I love that you're still out there kicking ass in the business and doing your thing.
Oh, you know which one I want to tell you about the most too, and I forgot to mention?
Sure.
I went to Hawaii this year on a show, and I got to work for Nickelodeon for the first time.
Oh, that's cool.
I wasn't running the show. I was working with my friend Pete, and we did a show called Paradise Run, and it was really fun. We built this big, huge volcano with a little face on it, and the kids had a big slide that they'd come down and they'd land in the pool at the bottom. It was a really fun project. But one of the things I said in Heavy Metal Maniacs in a women's issue, they were interviewing me, and the girl goes, oh, so what are you going to do later on in life? And I said, I really want to work in children's television someday. And then she finished the article with Pipe Dreamer. So I remember being over in Nickelodeon job, and I was like, ha, bitch, I'm Nickelodeon.
That's right. That's the ultimate GWAR pie in the face right there. Fuck.
I was like, I had to do a security screening for that job, and I was a little concerned, like, oh gosh, what if they see like Miss Bloody Twat of the universe, I was like, oh no. Oh man. Danielle. Hopefully they don't look up my name.
Danielle, I have to thank you from the bottom of my heart to spend time with me and us to come on and talk and take us down memory lane with you and to share the things that you're working on. I mean, it
was a fun, long journey, and I hope to find you guys another girl to gawk at soon.
Right. Well, it wasn't, and I mean this to no disrespect to any GWAR fan or the members of GWAR. It just wasn't the same without you. It wasn't the same without you. You're a badass chick, and I can only imagine the things that you had to deal with early on. And, now, they got the Me Too stamp and I've been sexually this or that. You put up with a lot of shit from a lot of fans and, and
a lot of people.
Right.
I was thinking about that Me Too stance. I bet you almost every single person on this earth could probably say Me Too, including the guys, because I know there's plenty of guys out there getting sexually harassed too. And, there's a lot of women in power positions now, and we're going to make y'all take your pants down.
You know what? Let me tell you what. If it was me, I would never ask for a raise. I'd be like, I'm going to work, honey. I'm out of here.
You have to remember, I invented the shower boy.
I know you did. Tough ass woman. Danielle, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for coming on. I would love to have you back in the future. Maybe we could talk a little bit more.
All right. Well, I'll let you know if we have any interesting projects coming up, and we'll do something again sometime. Thanks a lot. That was a lot of fun. And happy Halloween to all the GWAR fans out there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, darling. You are amazing.
Okay. Talk to you later.
Peace.
Thanks.
Just like that. She's so fucking cool. She's just so fucking cool. If you don't know what she's about, go to YouTube and Google her. Go to YouTube. Watch her videos. The chick is amazing. She set a lot of pace. She set a pace for a lot of women in rock and cleared the way for a lot of chicks to go out there and kick some ass. So nothing but respect and love. So thank you, Danielle. We will be back November 5th. I have the 43rd anniversary show coming up for Fire in the Sky with John Goulet and Steve Pierce. Going to come on. We're going to talk about it. I know they're sick of talking about it. They're not always. They're hard dudes to corral. But they'll come on and it'll be a fun time. So check us out on the 5th for the 43rd anniversary of Fire in the Sky show. And thanks again, guys, for tuning in. I appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to 51 Areas Talk Radio.